What happens to men's friendships when they enter their 40s and 50s?
I think actually, I'm not really sure that men's friendships change necessarily dramatically. It's very often more a case of circumstances changing. I mean, what's weird in a way, I don't think it's really weird, but if you like, what's characteristic of men's friendships is that they are somewhat casual. So they are a bit here today and gone tomorrow. So you can have, two guys who are very, very good friends from the age of, 8. They've tracked each other all the way through school, kept going all the way, and then suddenly they just drop out because one moves away. One decides to go off to Thailand for the rest of his life. And it really is a case of out of sight, out of mind. It's very different from the way the girls work. The girls, equivalent situation happens in girls. They're desperately trying to keep contact on the phone, on text, on Facebook, whatever. Guys, it's very much out of sight, out of mind. I don't know how many wives have told me, the hubby's off to some far-flung part of the country, and, before they go, they say, oh, isn't that where your friend from school, Jimmy, lives these days? Why didn't you look him up? And they say the response they get is a kind of, and they know jolly well nothing's going to happen. If it was girls, they would be on the phone and say, I'm coming your way. So there's something weird in that sense about the way kind of men's friendships generally work. When they get sort of accidentally separated, can result in just, it's not a breakup, it's just a sort of decay and a loss. And so you can end up very easily with a situation where somebody can, because of what they're doing, and the obvious case is, people who are working, 24/7 at building a business or, some particular aspect of work that they're really engaged with that consumes all their time, and they just end up not investing in their friends. And the problem with all friendships of both men and women is that if you don't invest in them, they decay. And eventually they decay into kind of, well, somebody I once knew, but I haven't seen for years and years, and I don't really know much about them. So I think that's the main problem. And, actually, it often occurs to me that what the problem in a way with blokes generally, if you like, unlike the girls, is that their friendship groups are kind of made for them. That's generically true, of course, when we're children, because it's the, children of the family's friends, children in the street, children in your class when you go to primary school. As you go through, sort of high school and so on, it's the children that you interact with in your class, your year group, whatever. You go to university and you're in residences with a bunch of guys you go and do stuff with. And then sort of suddenly you get thrown out into the real world in a place where you know nobody. But I think men's friendships, because they're casual and they kind of depend on this artificiality of groups being put together for them, aren't really proactive in going out and finding new friends when they find themselves in a situation where they don't know anybody or they, their friends have sort of vanished into history, as it were. So from that point of view, you then end up, usual thing that happens in people's lives is they get married, and the sort of normal course of these kind of romantic relationships, the girls being very proactive, manage the social life, and all the blokes' friends become the husbands of the wife's girlfriends.
Yeah.
And then, the big problem then is, as often, but as happens often enough, either you get widowed or you get divorced, and suddenly half your social network won't talk to you. In the one case, because they're kind of embarrassed to come round knocking on your door, after you've been widowed, to see if you're all right and how you're getting on, and in the other half because you're the villain, obviously. Mm-hmm. So that's the real danger point, I think, is because the blokes often end up then with their only network. They've not really kept up with their kind of childhood, teenagehood, young adulthood friends. They've disappeared. They no longer have close relationships with them. And all they've got left is their own side of the family. There's a mighty great hole, and they're left in a very bad place.